Hi everyone, so welcome to our Careers in Event for Performing Arts and Music. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. I'm Nikki Mansell, so I'm Head of School for Digital Media and Arts. Arts is Performing Arts and Music and Visual Arts as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce our panel today. We will have some other panellists join as we are going through the event. All right, so Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Sarah Slade and I am a lecturer in performing arts. I teach both the dance and the drama on the level 3 and the level 2 diplomas that we have.
Thank you very much. We have Bumit. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, Nikki. My name is Bumit Karlali. Everybody calls me Boom for short. I am lead tutor on music performance and production. And I also dabble in the music industry outside of here and also manage my own company.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for those introductions. Okay, so we're going to ask you a series of questions. You also have the opportunity to write your own questions in the Q&A box. And as we go through, we'll look to answer those. All right, so please do utilise that resource at the bottom of your screen, and if we can, we will open them up to the panelists, and if they are just questions that we can answer online, we will do that too, so we'll allow everyone to view those too. All right, so let's start. So if I just put it out there, what are the key career paths and opportunities available in firstly performing arts, and then we'll move on to you, Boom, in terms of music? Sarah.
So the career paths available within performing arts. A student asked me this today, in fact. There are multiple. There are the obvious. There are the acting jobs, both for screen, for stage, whether that's repertoire or movies or television. But there are multiple jobs that you can do with an acting qualification because the skills are highly transferable. But there's also the lesser thought about careers within performing arts, both on stage and off stage. And then with this explosion of computer games, that opens up a whole new world of performing possibilities. So if you weren't going to follow a traditional acting route, you have amazing communication skills that you've worked on that can lead into sales, into management, and actually employers lap up those skills because a lot of people don't tend to work on them on more traditional courses. If you want to progress into the world of performing, I've discussed acting. Obviously, there's dance as well, commercial dance, more contemporary dance, and I mean, and all in between, from YouTube to creating your own content to writing your own scripts, directing your own pieces. So really, it's like saying,
really fast.
I mean, it's the world of possibilities is there. And if you're not a performer, there's an awful lot still. And if you are interested in working in the industry, but not necessarily in front of the camera or on the stage, the industry is crying out for people to work backstage, whether that's costume, stage, props, location, finders. I mean, and then you've got stage managers, assistant stage managers, and on and on and on. There are so many jobs, and finding employment behind the scenes is far easier than finding employment on the stage. But when you understand what's happening on the stage, that also makes you far more employable behind the scenes.
Thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate that. We're going to we're going to touch a little bit more on what you said in terms of the technical aspect of where we can go with performing arts and the sort of new way of working. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on because I know you've done a pretty cool course. And Boom, can we just move on to music and what sort of careers there are?
Yeah, very similar to performing arts. So in terms of the performance side, obviously, if you want to be a rock star, a musician, then
obviously.
So the artist, music producer, which is the person that would make, so really it's music composer, but in today's time we just call the music producer of the person who makes the beats and the backing tracks. Stemming from that, the music composition in terms of traditional terms would be composing for things like orchestras or scores, which touches on sync, which is synchronizing music with games, adverts, could be radio jingles, movies need theme songs or just music throughout. In terms, those are the key aspects of the creative aspect. With the industry side of things, so where the real money is, which is music publishing. So that's assigning the royalties and licensing rights of all of the songs. So for example, if anytime a song is played publicly, the writer, so that would be the composer or the songwriter, would receive a royalty rate. For example, if a song is played on Radio 1, you're looking between 60 to 70 pounds a play. So if you're a number one artist and you're getting played 15 times a day, that's 15 times 70 just for Radio 1. Then you've got all the other radio stations across the world. Plus when you get your song played on the advert, etc. So a publisher is kind of like the easiest way to explain it is they would manage that royalty rate to make sure the songwriter and the composer gets paid, and then the publisher would take their cut. So those are the key. Again, similar to performing arts, there's so many different jobs. Those are the key roles, really.
And they do sort of complement each other, don't they? Performing arts and music. So there are opportunities to work with both, aren't there? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we've just had a student join us. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Desio.
Hello, nice to see you, Desio. It's okay, no worries.
I don't know what happened to the call, but I'm under a new name and I don't know whose
It's
name
fine,
that
we'll
is.
get that changed. So it's Desio, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Desio. And I'm a music student studying music performance production.
Year 2, aren't you?
Year 2, yeah.
Year 2. Thank you so much for joining us today on the panel. Really appreciate that. So we were just talking about careers within performing arts and music. So we just covered a few. There was many options. So if you want to, while you're not on the call, pop yourself on mute. Jade will change your name for us so that everyone knows who you are. And then once I've asked some questions and we've had questions in the chat, feel free to get involved and answer those. All right. Thanks, Desio. Okay, so I'm just going to jump back to Sarah in terms of the IT aspect to performing arts. So how can the new ways of working be implemented into performing arts and possibly music? So things like AI, moving image, etc., etc. So Sarah, if you just want to jump on that conversation.
Yeah. Let's start with
motion capture.
All right, let's start with motion capture.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
So I have just done a motion capture course with a view to implement our own actors course for motion capture, because obviously you've got this wonderful technology that can take your movement, your sound, and create an imaginary world around it, from horror to computer games to that motion capture used within movies, it's everywhere, and it's a slightly different angle from television acting or stage acting, but actually it is just acting, and that was really interesting. It's got the same skills. You've got the use of physicality, so however many skills you can bring to that, from dance to acrobatics to juggling to stage fighting, so combat, all of which you study on performing arts. But if you learn how to use it and how it looks on motion capture, again, that makes you all the more employable. It's also a little bit more of a 9-to-5 job, if you're looking for that, because you might not want to be out late every night working in the theatre, but to be able to if you're jumping ahead here slightly, you know, have a 9-to-5 job, have a family, or, you know, play gigs in the evening for music. It's a whole new world, but the skills overlap so much. Doing a performing arts course with an angle on motion capture would really make you employable. And it's exciting because, you know, anything, you can be turned into anything, and it's not just your imagination, it's seen afterwards with the image on it. So that would be the technology in terms of performing. But again, behind the scenes, so many theatres now use projection rather than scenery. And if you can film, edit, and work hand in hand with a director, or be a director that has this idea of what image you want seen on your stage, that elevates your performance into a whole new realm of possibilities as well. So that's both using movement within motion capture, but also technology to inject excitement into whatever piece you're working on.
And it's also where our curriculum is moving to, isn't it? In terms of where we want to progress to and what we want to involve in our performing arts courses.
It also, we have the facilities to create products, real products that you could use on show reels. In the sense, when you collaborate with another department, so the gaming department, we provide the performers and they have the technology to make us look fantastic, fantastical. And then we can own that product, you know, which is fantastic. If you want to get out there and get work, you'd be leaving the course with a show reel, with a skills reel.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. Really appreciate that answer. Okay, so we've had Oliver Mills join us and Tasia Bell. So Oliver, do you want to just introduce yourself, or Ollie, as we know you?
Hi, I'm Ollie. You all know me. I don't think there's anyone here that I don't know.
No.
So I teach music. Yeah, that's it.
So you're curriculum manager for music, aren't you, at WKC?
Yep.
Yep, so you oversee the provision. All right, and then we've got Tasia. Tasia, do you want to pop your camera on and introduce yourself? No, maybe not. Okay.
Tasia, hello.
You're on mute, Tasia.
Oh,
Your name's still not my name yet.
no,
So.
I thought it was the other student that came on. I apologise,
right.
that's my fault because the camera wasn't on. No worries. Jade, if you don't mind just changing that to the other student name, that would be fabulous. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk a little about music. So Ollie and Boom, what was your career path and how have you sort of embedded yourself into the music industry? What was your journey?
Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
So I started in the music industry when I was 17. So that was like 1997. I started as a DJ, and then I was tired of not getting enough. There wasn't enough parties in Perth in Australia. So I then started a promotion company a year after I started DJing, with like $300. And so then we convinced the pub to let us have their back Irish bar every Saturday so we ran that for a year and made a little bit of money and lots of connections. And then through that, I got all of the connections to all of the nightclubs in the city. And then so we went on to eventually 7 years down the line, doing like a big birthday for the promotion company at what's called like a super club, which is one of the biggest clubs in Australia. That was called Metro City. And then in 2007, with the money we made from that, I opened a record shop, and kept DJing and promoting. And then we added the record shop to it and kind of blagged the distributors from over here to send £3,000 worth of records, which was a lot in about 2004, from each distributor over to Perth in Australia to some shops, to some people they didn't know. And we managed to launch a record label. And then I went into music production, self-taught at first, and then I did a uni degree in sound engineering and music production. And then I started 2 record labels, which I'm still running. And then I went into, before the record labels, I went into teaching. And so I'm still in the industry now. Have 2 record labels, still DJing, have a radio show. And yeah, so I've been part-time teaching and part-time in the industry and sharing experiences. That was
So
my kind of
massively
journey.
entrepreneurial, aren't you, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I don't think you definitely can't teach that skill, but you can definitely open the students up to that mindset, can't you?
Yeah, that was the idea behind the business that we're doing with the year 2 students, to try and give them some of the experience.
Do you want to
Forcing
go? Do
them
you want to
into
talk a
the
little? We haven't introduced that. Do you want to go in? Do you want to just provide the listeners with what it is that we're doing?
Yeah, so this year, leading off like all of my kind of DIY and entrepreneurial experience, I found the best way into the industry in each part of the industry is to just do it yourself. And then the people that you were trying to get to hire you and book you before, all of a sudden, they want you to book them and hire them. So then you've brought yourself to the same level as them, and then it opens up the industry to you. So this year I wanted to spend, because I suppose I can say this. So the group of year 2 music students that we have now is the best group that me and Boom, I'm sure Boom agrees, we've talked about it. The best group, the most well-behaved, the most interested, the most keen group that we've had. So I kind of wanted to do it when I first started at West King, but it wasn't really possible with the groups that we had. So this year I was like, oh man, I think we can do this with this group. So the idea was to start an event promotion business, because that's the one I had the most success and the longest time doing. And I wanted to put them in situations where it was forced learning, forced teamwork, replicate what it would be like in the industry. So the year 2 students that are here, they'll be able to elaborate. When they were almost thrown into the deep end in their first event, they learned a lot really quickly.
Shall
and
we
then
put
the
that
second
to
event,
Desio once you finish? We'll put that to Desio and let them talk
Yeah.
about it more.
Sure. So they had quite a brutal what's the word I want? Debrief after the first event. As you know, Nikki, I'm very honest. So I was just very honest with the learners, not mean, but sometimes the truth is a little bit brutal.
Critical feedback is difficult to take,
Yeah.
but it's essential.
Yeah, so I gave them industry feedback, and something that I didn't get through the 8 years of my journey in promotions and event management. You would just get customers would either walk with their feet, they'd either turn up or they wouldn't, and you'd either lose money or make money. But so yeah, the aim of it was to build on what we taught them last year, still teach them in small workshops and through experience sharing, but mainly to have them the closest replication to entering the industry and having like 10 grand to spend,
Yeah.
and feeling those real world consequences, and kind of like it speeds up the learning process, I think. And so it's almost like a pilot. Like I said, I wanted to start it 2 years ago, but this is the only group I really felt would benefit. So they take constructive criticism really well. And then what I noticed is they rallied as a team after that first debrief. And I left them with it. I left them with their notes. It was all on Padlet because we've got a minute taker for the meetings. And then I said, you need to just take all of that and make the next one better. Please don't embarrass me or yourselves any further. So, and then the goal was to be prepared 30 minutes before first set. And they were like done an hour and a half before.
Wow.
And then they got really great feedback from Alicia, who was essentially their client.
Yeah.
And she sent them an email, and I think she sent an email to
Yeah,
yourself.
it's fantastic. Really, really good feedback.
And so that's just the second one. So I think the goal of doing the external event towards the end of the year to raise money for charity, I think they want to raise some money for Palestine, and I kind of agree. I think that's a good thing to do. I think that might even be aiming too low now. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's room to even go bigger.
To book them for more events. Desio, do you want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about? Sorry, I don't know whether they're on the screen. Desio, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience of the events company?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the first event definitely was not the best. It was a bit chaotic. Like beforehand, there was no sound check, and just like people were getting stressed out, so it just wasn't the ideal situation to be in. The second one was a lot much better. We kind of didn't want a repeat of the first one, so we were more organized. We knew exactly how to go about it. People set up beforehand, sound check.
Was that the Excellence Awards?
No, that was the Black History event one.
Okay.
That was the second one. Yeah, it was all just more organized, really. And we kind of took that first experience and we learned from it. We
Brilliant.
knew what to do and we knew what to not to do. And it was far better. There was no like rush performances or just quickly add another one to fill a gap. It was exactly how it's meant to be, and we did what we needed to do.
And everyone knew their responsibility. And I
Yeah.
suppose you've grown in confidence massively as a
Yeah.
performer as well,
So,
not only organising
Yeah.
it, but yeah, fantastic. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Boom, do you want to talk a little bit about your journey in the music industry?
Sure. So my journey, I've started making music around 12, 13. Started off rapping, like most kids, everyone wants to be a rapper these days. I was illegally downloading music on Kazaa back then. Just finding, I think it was 50 Cent at the time, any type of beats that I could to rap on. My dad was involved in the music industry before, so he used to manage reggae artists and put on events, big reggae events around the world, etc., things like that. So he just said, why don't you try and make your own beats? So I just kind of fiddled around with it. And at the time he was signing an artist called Kevin Little, who had some success some years ago. And whilst the album was being picked, he put forward one of my beats and it made it to the final 20 for the album.
Wow.
So he didn't tell me any of this. He was just like, oh, well, maybe my son's actually kind of talented then. And then started to kind of help me. He just set me a task to make all different types of genres. So I did that. I was very naive and thought, oh yeah, my dad's in the industry, he can sort it out. And he was like, no, you don't want that. So
He's going to work hard.
yeah, so he taught me I was very lucky to understand the business aspect of it and just seeing it like any other business where it's a product, you have a consumer, you need to know who your target market is and how to sell. So fast forward.
So I just pause you there for a second, and that's something that we then reflect in the classroom, isn't it?
All the time.
Yeah.
I go out today. I called in an industry professional friend who's a publisher, just to give a talk to the children about how that is an option. So whilst that's not even necessarily part of the curriculum, it's something that I believe we're teaching you the skills in terms of how to songwrite, how to produce, etc. But then it's all right, how do you put that into practice now and actually make an income from it? So I started performing from an early age. When I was 15, I wrote, performed, and recorded, actually. It was the opening theme song for something called Black Heroes in the Hall of Fame, which was a theatre production in Hackney Empire.
Okay.
So I was doing that same time I was doing my GCSEs, so late nights and then having to run home and then get back up and get back straight
Wow.
into school.
Hard work pays off though, doesn't it?
And that's what it's all about, really. Is as teachers always bag on to the kids, it's hard work, but it fast forward, let's see, I think another 5 years. I then got a job at a company called Music to Text, which was a went to university first where I studied music business. That was one of the best decisions I made. I had to fight my dad to study that course because I wanted to study music production. And he kept banging on about studying music business. And the reason why was because he made a good point. I'm going to be around producers and artists throughout my career anyway. If you understand the law and how to make money from it, it'll make life easier. Which it did. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
And then I got a job in something called Music to Text, which was essentially is a ringtone company. It was about 10 years too late because ringtones were already a thing.
Okay.
But the head of the company managed to blag 2 million in investment seed funding. So I learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
How to negotiate and having the gift of the gab and how to it's bigger than music sometimes. So anyway, that lasted 2 years. Then I was jobless. Then I thought, teaching's always been in the back of my head because when I was 17, I first taught youth offenders and refugees, and I really enjoyed it. I just didn't really see it as a career path. After that music to text, I then thought I was going to be a rock star because I decided to make my own genre of music, half Indian, half Jamaican. And I thought it'd be cool to just mix it together and see what happens. Did that, and then I believe in manifestation, and I just kind of visualized a lot of stuff happening. And then the year after that, I was playing Glastonbury, BBC,
Wow.
started doing all the major festivals. But again, I didn't really have a plan. So I was still a bit too young and naive to put my business hat on. But I remember all these skills that I've learned. It was just, I just wanted to be a creative at the time.
Okay.
So I was doing all these cool things and then didn't really work out financially. I was making a little bit of money, but not enough to live. Then I fell into teaching. So I thought, well, I've got all this experience now. Why don't I go and give this back to make some money on the side? And that took me into SEN teaching. So it was on Indeed, and I was just scrolling through anything that had a certain salary, and this one came up, and I accidentally kind of got a school a teaching gig in a special needs school. Ended up there for 4 years. Loved that. I would recommend anyone to go work with special needs children if you're lost in life, because it will just humble you and really make you appreciate just being a human being, and it'll help you understand where you want to go in life as well, especially if you're creative.
So you've done teaching for how long now?
What I started 22, about 8 years, I'd say, something like that.
And then also you've also, so you do teaching, but you also have your own
company. So after that, I started here. So this is my 3rd year at West King. During COVID, I was very fortunate to be one of the people that bloomed during COVID. So that really gave me time to focus on what I wanted to do. I realized being a teacher, the rest of the world is being told to stay at home right now, and was on furlough. But me working in SEN school, I was considered a key worker, so I had to go to work. I saw the value in that, in the sense that, okay, even if something drastic like COVID happens, I'm still in a job. But I just thought, how can I attach my music creative aspect onto something like this if it happens? So I decided to set up my own education, business and recruitment management service for creatives, where I write music programs for special needs and youth offenders.
Yeah.
That started in 2020, and I've just been applying for funding over the last 6 months, which I've been successful with some. And so now I can work for myself and manage other artists. But the money I make from that, so the profit I make from that company now, goes straight back into my music videos, into my social media spend, advertising, because my dream is to still be a full-time creator. So.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. And I think all of those examples show that you as musicians and artists can balance that sort of creative expression, but also find financial stability with all of your skill set. And I think that's definitely something that we bring back into the classroom to demonstrate to the students, because you're all dual. Most of our teachers here at West King are dual professionals.
That's why, Nikki, that we have the that's why we make our Year 2 music students teach a lesson for their project 2.
Okay.
To give them a taste of it, so that in case they want something other than working in a restaurant or something while they're chasing their dream, we're trying to encourage them a little bit into teaching as well, to give them a taste, because they all find out that they're good at it. Yeah,
and I think it's really important to provide those sort of tangible examples that you have experienced it. You can tell them your experience and how you can support them in terms of finding that financial stability while they're sort of chasing their dreams. I think it's really great. I spend half of the time letting them know where I messed up so they can save 10 years. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Okay, so just a reminder, there is a Q&A. So if anyone wants to ask any questions, do add those into the chat and we will answer them with the panelists right now. But I will continue until we've got another just 10 minutes so far. So I would just say, how would emerging artists and musicians promote themselves and build a brand in a competitive market? Sarah, do you want to answer that one?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I will. Gosh, well, the problem is laced in that question, right? It's so difficult, and if you want to be, I'm going to use the term straight actor, it's really, really hard.
Let's use that as an example. And what would be your advice or guidance?
Well, develop skills, get as much experience as you can, both in college, where you can make all the mistakes you need and it's a safe space, and you can explore different styles that may or may not suit you. You can break out of a stereotype you might be given, but you could also hone in on the areas and the type of scripts or characters that you might find employment in. Knowing how you are employable kind of helps you channel your energy, so to not go for auditions where you're not going to stand a chance of getting that, because you've either taken advice from visiting actors or your tutors to know that, listen, you're going to waste your time, put your energy there as a starting point. So having a focus, developing as many skills as you can, as many strings to your bow. Can you sing? Can you dance? Can you act? So though we often have people come and do our course that are actors, we firmly believe that you need to have at least one singing lesson a week and dance as part of that. You could be highly employable, and then they want to know if you can dance, and you haven't, you've got 2 left feet because you've never trained it. Well, then you're no longer as employable as you were, or they're not going to necessarily, particularly when you're starting out, waste time training you unless they really want you. So the more you have to offer, the more employable you are. Now, at college, we'll offer singing, dance, acting, and we try and incorporate projects that explore a variety of styles. So you will have the Greek theatre, contemporary playwrights, devising as well, because it's an environment where being able to offer ideas is highly valuable. So you've got to get the experience of putting your ideas forward and not being too afraid to do that. Again, these kind of courses offer that skill development. I mean, dance, any kind of movement will come in handy when you are physicalizing a character, from, like we just said, a Shakespearean character, to motion capture where you're being Gollum and crawling through the undergrowth. And singing, now I'm not a singer, but that doesn't stop me.
I've never heard you sing, actually.
Well,
You have to invite me to one of those sessions.
so
I've got a recording of it still.
Can we share it?
But
She promised me to never show anyone.
I can't sing either when people pay to see me, so it's fine.
Okay.
having the confidence with your voice to sing in character is a talent in itself, and I suppose not caring what other people think about you in an industry where everyone's going to be looking at you and judging you, again, more employable. Being able to take risks takes you out your comfort zone, and you often find that you can do more than you realize, and that those, like I was saying, these years of training give you all those opportunities to take those risks and to find out what you can do and what you are going to continue to work on improving. And all of that hopefully leads to, I mean, if you're lucky, straight into employment, but realistically into further training where you'll hone your skills into the acting, into the musical theatre, into the dance. Or you look to do performing arts or theatre studies and you approach it from more of an academic background. Again, there are theatre critics. You need to know what you're talking about. Or you go into production courses, as I've already said, highly employable area. And if you know what it means to make sure your props are in order. On our courses, it is performing and production arts. We don't have at the moment a pathway where you just specialise in production but you can take on a huge production role and get marked for it. So within that, stage management is massive. Being able to organise, I mean, that in itself can lead to organising events in another industry.
And we've got a fully functioning theatre that supports that.
Oh, it's got that. We've got all the lighting. We've just had a fantastic new projector put in, which will be really exciting for projects to come. Yes, we have the all singing and all dancing theatre to make you look fantastic on stage, or for you to help other people look fantastic on stage.
Just to pause you there, what other things have we been doing in terms of the curriculum and inviting industry specialists in recently? So well, I know that we've had the Donbar Theatre in.
We've had the Donbar Theatre in, doing a workshop on a performance that we went and saw called Next to Normal, which was really exciting. We have also got another one booked in for next week, and then another show to go and see with the Donbar. So that's a great point of contact. And they have work experience opportunities as well, where you go in and you find out all about, again, backstage often, and you get to see the shows when you're doing that. We had an actor come and talk to the students today. I'm going to say her name is Indra Ove. You can pronounce the surname however you like.
Very famous actress.
Very famous, from acting with Tom Cruise in Interview with a Vampire to being in Sex Education, obviously a hot show right now. And she gave invaluable advice to the students, which was really work hard, make those mistakes and believe in yourself. But
she also came in and critiqued them, didn't she, in terms of their own performance?
Yep. So though in the second year you're applying for universities or drama courses, and you have to prepare auditions, which is part of our course to prepare you for the next step. And they were doing their monologue assessments today, and she came in to be part of the audition panel, so to give a real experience to them, because you're often in front of people who are in the industry and who are going to make or break your career. But she gave that valuable feedback at a really fragile moment in their training to give them the boost they need to hopefully succeed when they go out to audition for universities or for jobs.
Fantastic, thank you. Now we've only got a couple more minutes left of this event this evening. Is there anything that anyone wants to sort of give us a parting comment? Don't all jump at once. Ollie, come on. Boom. No, Boom came off his microphone first. There you go.
A little bit based on what Sarah just said, it's very cliche, but it's just work hard and you'll see results. But it's also, it will get lonely, but just know when it does, there is light on the other side. Again, it sounds very cliche, but it's Ollie mentioned earlier as well about the risk taking. Sometimes it's just do it. Just if you've got the idea and you can see it, see the vision, and it seems sometimes it won't be realistic, but you just need that faith. And it's what's the worst that can happen, really, especially when you're this age at college. You've got to make mistakes. I tell my students all the time, try to make mistakes, because some of us get very lucky and it can happen overnight, but you'll find some of those people where it does happen, the career isn't as long because they don't know how to sustain it. Because once you are where you want to be, everyone has different versions of success, but it's once you are content, it's how do you keep that happiness. So if you can make mistakes along the way, then it makes it easier for when you get knockbacks, it just becomes another thing and you just keep knocking on the door until someone opens.
LinkedIn's a great resource as well, isn't it? And having a network of professionals that you can sort of liaise with. Any
creative industry is all about network. It's all about who you know as well. But it's what Sarah was saying is what you can bring to the table, what you can bring to the party, and your transferable skills. She was talking about the motion detector earlier. I've had to teach myself how to use Photoshop and the motion detector thing because I wanted to do something similar to the Gorillas. I didn't have 3,000, 5,000 pounds to spend on a minute video. So it's like, oh, here's a bit of software where I can make a quick face of mine, move around, and it makes something similar. And then again, even if I wasn't to finish that, here's something I've started, which I can give to another professional. Saves a lot of time. And
show them your vision.
So it's about wearing different hats and to getting what you want to achieve.
Yeah, I suppose that just echoes exactly what we were saying before in terms of don't be afraid to try something new and get involved in on all the aspects of the creative arts industry. Ollie, have you got anything to add?
Yeah, one last thing. So just following on from where Boom left off, it's something always comes from something. So never say no to any opportunity, even if it seems too small for you, if you feel like you're too big for your boots at that time. And the most important thing in the industry is never burn a bridge, because you might think that person's lower than you at that time and treat them poorly. In 10 years' time, they could be making a decision that could make or break your goal at that point. So leave everything open. Never just like walk out of a job and go, well, I don't need this anymore. No notice, no nothing, leave. Do you know what I mean? Don't ever burn a bridge. It's never worth it. It will always come back to bite you. Do you know what I mean? The industry is very small, even throughout the whole world. It's very small, and bad news travels quickly. And to follow on from what Boom was saying, like, you need every ally you could possibly get. Do you know what I mean? So don't just do it from a selfish aspect like that. Be nice to everyone just because you're nice to them. But remember, you know, like, your actions have consequences forever, especially in the industry.
Yes, definitely. Desio, have you got anything you want to add just as a parting comment? Don't have to if you don't want to.
No, I don't think so. I have anything currently.
Okay, right. So on that note, I just want to thank everyone for being here, all the panelists. I really appreciate your time this evening. And we will finish up. If anyone wants to add any questions, we can always, if you just make sure that you leave some contact details, we can then, like an email, we can then send you the answer. Right, thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.